Hey boys and girls, Mr. Cavanagh here today. Today is Friday, September 11th, and today what we're going to talk about is we are just going to do some more asking and answering questions about informational texts. So it says today I will review asking and answering questions about informational text, and I will practice using all of my knowledge to answer questions from an informational text passage. Here's our I can statement again. I can ask and answer questions about informational text and refer to the text for my answers. So let's go ahead and start by looking at this anchor chart. So in this anchor chart, we know that it says that we ask questions to help us understand the text. And remember that in an informational text, we have two types of questions. We have thick questions and we have thin questions. And remember, for answering questions, readers always look back in the text to find their answers to the questions and make sure your answers strong. So our two types of questions are thick and thin questions. Well, what are they? Well, thick questions are questions that you really have to use your brain and look deep into the text to find out. If you remember back to our lessons last week, that would be the same as a strong question, one that just makes you think really hard about the answer. And a thin question is a question that you can answer by, just looking at a picture or answer without reading any of the words on the page. And thinking back to our story questions, those would be the same as simple questions. So you guys have been practicing asking questions about images or pictures, stating and asking. So let's take a look at this next one. So the directions say state one thing about this image and ask one thing about this image. Well, if I'm looking at this picture, it looks like they're at the beach, and so the one thing that I'm going to state is people are having fun at the beach. And one question that I'm going to ask about this image is, are these people social distancing? And we could read and try to figure out the answer. So how do we write questions? We've been practicing this for 2 weeks. How do we write questions? Well, first, we always start with a capital letter. You always start with a capital letter, and you will always end with a question mark for a question. And how do we write an answer? Well, remember wrap, it's going to be the same. We restate part of the question and the answer. We have to make sure the first letter is capitalized and we use correct punctuation. We have to use evidence from the text and tell where you found the answer, and we have to write in complete sentences. So let's model what we're going to do today by reading this passage called Let's Take a Ride. So remember, I always like to start by reading my questions first, just so I know what I'm looking for in the text while I'm reading. Question 1 says, explain why flying from Washington to Florida is better than driving. Well, we know that they're going to be telling us about why it's better to drive from Washington to Florida. Number 2 says, underline text evidence and explain what part of the text helped you find the answer to number 1. In yesterday's video, I did not show you how to underline, but today I will show you how to use these tools to underline. Number 3 says, are all planes the same? Explain. So we know that we're going to be talking about maybe some different types of planes. Maybe we're going to figure out if they're all the same. Number 4 says, underline the text evidence and explain what part of the text to help you find the answer to question 3. So again, I'll show you how to underline, and we'll be using that. Number 5 says, why do you think a co-pilot rides with a pilot on every flight? So we're going to be learning what a pilot is, what a co-pilot is. All right, let's go ahead and get reading. Let's take a ride. There are many ways to travel around the world. Traveling by car, by train, or by foot are just a few. The quickest mode of transportation for traveling around the world would be an airplane. Many people choose airplanes as their form of travel if they have a long distance to go. If someone wanted to go from Washington to Florida, which are on opposite sides of the United States, they could drive their car or take a plane. The distance is over 3,000 miles. If someone drove their car, this could take them 48 hours. So imagine today is Friday. They would not get there until Sunday. It would take them an Like that's no stopping. They're just going to drive straight there. 48 hours. That's 2 full days. But if they hopped on an airplane, they could get there in about 6 hours. So they would get there tonight. The reason that planes can get someone to their destination quicker is because they fly at extreme speeds. There are many different sizes of planes. Some are tiny planes that only carry a few people, while some are large and carry hundreds of passengers. Inside an airplane, there are rows of cushioned seats. Passengers must wear a seatbelt while the plane is moving. The plane will ascend into the sky. The plane will ascend into the sky, which means the plane will go up into the air. And once they reach a certain altitude or a certain height, passengers can stand up and move around the plane. However, the pilot always suggests to stay seated. So when the pilot says that you can take your seatbelt off, this is just from my experience flying. That doesn't mean that you can go up and, talk to your friends on the plane or go up there and have a party. That just means that you can, go to the bathroom on the plane. You can walk a little bit to stretch your legs, but you always have to go back to your seat. A pilot is the person in control of flying the plane. The co-pilot sits alongside the pilot in the cockpit and assists them in flying the airplane for safety purposes. This picture is a picture of an airplane that is waiting to take off at sunset. So, I'm not sure if many of you have flown before. I've flown 3 times. I flew once from Orlando, Florida to Baltimore, and then I flew from Baltimore to Raleigh, and then I flew from Raleigh to Massachusetts. So I have a little bit of experience with planes, and I think they're pretty cool, but I also think they're scary sometimes, so we'll see. All right, let's look at our questions. It says, explain why flying from Washington to Florida is better than driving. Okay, so I remember it saying this in the story, but the text, so let's go back and look. So for underlining purposes, what I'm going to do is, if you see this red circle, we're going to go up to this thing that says line. When we click that, we want a line. And then you should have a cross. So when you have the cross, what you're going to do, or a plus sign, what you're going to do is you're going to look for your answer, and then you're going to underline it. It says, if someone wanted to go from Washington to Florida, which are on opposite sides of the United States, they could drive their car or take a plane. The distance is over 3,000 miles. If someone drove their car, this would take them 48 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to underline that. And then I'm going to grab another line. It says, but if they hopped on an airplane, they could get there in about 6. So someone would drive. So first I'm going to start by restating my question. Flying from Washington to Florida is better than driving because it takes less time to get there. And we know that because we know 48 hours is way longer than 6 hours. Underline the text evidence and explain what part of the text help you find the answer to number 1. Well, look, we've already underlined. So now we need to explain how this helped us find our answer. So we're going to say the first paragraph helped me find the answer to number 1 because it says that driving takes 48 hours, but flying takes 6 hours. So that's how we found our answer in the first paragraph because, it just tells us that driving takes 48 hours, but flying takes 6. So our third question says, are all airplanes the same? Explain. Well, in paragraph 2, it says, hold on, let me get my line. It says, there are many different sizes of airplanes. Some are tiny planes that only carry a few people, and some are large and carry hundreds of people. Or passengers, excuse me. So, we're going to say, no. All airplanes are not the same. And now we need to give evidence on why they're not the same. Because some planes are tiny, the passage says, and carry a few passengers, but some are large and carry hundreds of passengers. Number 4 says, underline the text evidence and explain what part of the text helped you find the answer to number 3. Well, again, we've already underlined, and then we are going to say that paragraph 2 helped us find the answer because it talks about the different sizes of airplanes. So, the second paragraph helped me find this answer because it talks about the different sizes of planes. So then number 5 says, why do you think the co-pilot rides with the pilot on every flight? Well, I remember that the last sentence tells us about the co-pilot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my underline, and I'm going to underline what I know about the co-pilot. Well, the co-pilot sits alongside of the pilot in the cockpit and assists them in flying the plane for safety purposes. Well, why do you think that the co-pilot, does this for safety purposes? Well, personally, I think that, when I'm driving my car, at least, I know that sometimes, I get tired and I'm just like, I wish somebody else would drive. So I'm thinking the co-pilot rides along with the pilot on every flight just in case the pilot gets tired and needs someone to fly the plane. We need somebody to fly the plane. All right, so I want to show you how to see this toolbar when you go into your Canvas assignment. Because today you are going to be doing a lesson or a passage called Don't Touch That Frog, where you're going to read all 5 questions, you're going to underline, and you're going to need these tools. So I'm going to go into I'm going to go into my NCI Cloud, and I'm just going to use an assignment. Actually, today's Friday. So let me go ahead and just show you how to access this assignment. You're going to go under your reading button, and since today is Friday, it's going to be right here under this Friday button. But I want to show you how to access that toolbar and then how to go back and submit. So let me use an assignment that we've already done before. Let's do this one. So usually this is what your assignment looks like when it pops up. You see all of this, and you see mine has a toolbar. But if yours does not, you'll need to go here and click this blue link. The bell just rang. You'll need to go up here and click this blue link. And when you click this, what it's going to do is it's going to open in another tab. Opens in another tab, and now you have all of this. And what you can do now is you can type on this. Watch. I am typing. So you can type on this, but after you finish completing all of your questions, do not share this with me. You will go back to your Canvas and look, your answer's typed here. So now what you can do is you can submit by using this blue submit button up here. All right, boys and girls, I know you're going to do great. I look forward to grading these. You guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.